Hi, this is Ajay Anand and welcome to science classes from excelup.com. In this video, I'll be talking about heredity. You'll be learning about heredity, the meaning of heredity, then about accumulation of variations, Mendel's experiment and the rules which Mendel derived based on his observations during those experiments. At the end of the video, we will be learning about sex determination in human beings. So, what are variations? The dictionary meaning of variation can be differences. Say there are two human beings. So, both of them, they look similar and that is why they are human beings. But there must be many differences between them. So, these differences, they are called variations. Before proceeding further, you need to know certain key terminologies. The number one is heredity. The process of passing on genetic traits or characters from one generation to next generation is called heredity. Then there are two terms, genotype and phenotype. So, phenotype is the apparent characters or externally observable characters in a living being. The set of such characters is called phenotype. Say, let us take an example of a cat. So, a cat may be having a particular color of its fur, then it will be having a long tail, so certain color of eyes. So, all of these characters they can be seen, they can be observed. So, set of such characters is part of phenotype. Now, these characters, they are the result of the genetic makeup's interaction with environment. So, set of the genetic makeup is called genotype. So, genotype, it cannot be seen, it is the underlying code which manifests itself in the form of phenotype. Acquired traits, certain characters, they are acquired during one's lifetime. These characters, they do not alter the genetic makeup of an individual. So, these characters cannot be transferred from one generation to next generation. Then there are inherited traits, certain characters which alter the genetic makeup of an individual. They can be inherited from one generation to the next generation, and such characters, they are called inherited traits. A very good example to understand it, this is, let us take example of the Sachin Tendulkar, the legendary batsman, cricket batsman. Sachin Tendulkar became the master batsman because of his inbuilt talent and because of the practice and dedication which he put into learning the fine art of cricket. So, these are acquired characters. These characters, they cannot be transferred to his son. So, if his son wants to become a good cricketer, he needs to practice hard the way Sachin Tendulkar must have done during his childhood days. So, these are acquired characters. But the face of father and son, they may resemble each other, and that resemblance is because of inherited characters. Okay. Now, this diagram, it shows accumulation of variation. So, the variation, they do happen especially when sexual reproduction happens, and in case of sexual reproduction there are least chances of variation. But this is a simple example which assumes that this organism, let us say this is a bacteria, it reproduces asexually. Okay. So, in the first generation, it reproduces two offsprings. This happens because of, say, binary division of the cell, and before binary division there must have been the DNA replication to make additional copies of DNA. Okay. The process of DNA replication is a foolproof method, but there must be some error in that foolproof method also. So, no biological process cannot be can be said as 100% foolproof process. Every process must be having certain error in this. So, because of those inaccuracies during DNA replication, some variations they'll come out in the next generation. So for example, this organism, it is of brown color. The next generation, this member is having a red color in the head, and this is having a green limb. So these are variations. Now this individual, it produces the next generation, and this individual does the same thing. So now what happens, you can see the differences in 4 individuals of the second generation. So all of them, they are different from each other, and that is how variations accumulate. So just imagine what will happen after the passage of 100 generations or 200 generations. So a time will come when these variations, they will be having a cumulative effect which will be enough to result in the origin of a new species, and that is how evolution takes place. In this section, you will learn about Mendel's experiments and the laws of inheritance or rules of inheritance which Mendel proposed based on his observation. So Mendel selected pea plants for his experiment. Nobody knows why did he select pea plants, but we can make some intelligent guesses. So there are certain advantages with pea plants. Number one is that pea is a biennial plant. It means one can grow 2 generations of pea plants in a calendar year. So given a chance, one can easily study many generations of pea plants in his lifetime. So it is easy to study more generation. Okay, suppose if somebody wants to study the genetic variation in human beings, or how certain traits they get transferred from one generation to 2 generations. So in his lifetime, a person may be able to study at the most 3 generations if he is lucky enough, not more than that. Okay, so data of 3 generations, that won't be sufficient to come to a proper conclusion. So pea plants, they have certain advantages over human beings in this term. Now pea plants, they have easily identifiable characters which are contrasting in nature. So it becomes easy to analyze the expression of characters across generations. Now there is ease of cross pollination also. So one can easily introduce cross pollination artificially in pea plants. So some examples of characters are: a pea plant can be tall or it can be short, seeds can be yellow or green, seeds can be having a smooth texture or rough texture, there can be purple flowers or there can be white flowers. So taking these characters, Mendel conducted experiments. One of the experiments is called monohybrid cross and another is called dihybrid cross. When 2 contrasting traits, that is just one pair of contrasting traits, is studied in the cross, it is called a monohybrid cross. So in this case, Mendel selected a tall plant and a short plant. Okay. So tall plant, the genotype is represented by capital T, that is TT, and short plant's genotype is represented by small t. In the Mendel cross-pollinated these 2 plants, and due to cross-pollination, the F1 generation or filial 1 generation, it was produced. So Mendel observed that all the plants in F1 generation, they were tall plants. So what happened to the small height or the shortness of character? Mendel did not have the answer. So he then allowed these plants to self-pollinate among themselves, which resulted in the F2 generation. So to Mendel's surprise, 75% of the plants in F2 generation, they were tall plants, and 25% plants, they were short plants. So this showed that the genes for shortness, it did not disappear here. It was there, but it could not express itself because the tallness was the dominant character and shortness was the recessive character. But in F2 generation, the shortness, it got a chance to express itself because of recombination of genes. So to understand it better, let us focus on these Punnett squares. These Punnett squares, this is for F1 generation and this is for F2 generation. So this capital TT, it is for say male parents, and small tt is for female parents. So this is for short and this is for tall. These are the gametes, and these quadrants, they show the plants of F2 generation. So all the plants, their genotype was one capital T and small t. So that means each plant was having the gene for tallness and shortness both. Since the tallness was a dominant character, so it was expressed in that generation, and the shortness being a recessive character, it was hidden. Now what happened in F2 generation, these are the gametes. So this is capital T and this is small t, the capital T and small t. So plants in this quadrant, their genotype was the capital T, both the T's were capital. In this case, one capital and one small t. This is one capital and one small t. And in this case, both the T, they are small t's. So these three plants, they were tall plants and this was short plants. And this shows that how 75%, that is 3 out of 4 plants, they were tall, and 1 out of 4, that is 25% plants, they were short. So based on his observation, Mendel proposed the law of segregation. It says that every individual has a pair of alleles for a particular trait during gamete formation. A gamete gets only one trait from the alleles. A particular trait can be dominant or recessive in a particular generation. It means that for any particular character, say plant height, there will be 2 genes, that is called alleles. Okay, so there will be a pair of genes for a particular trait. One of the genes, it will be for one character and another for the contrasting character. So one for the tallness and one for the shortness. Now what happens during gamete formation, since the gametes, they get half the number of chromosomes from the somatic cells. So one of the gametes, it will contain one gene, and another gamete will contain another gene of the alleles pair. Now a particular trait can be dominant or recessive in a particular generation. So either tallness can be dominant or even shortness can be dominant, and another trait, it will be recessive in a particular generation. Okay, so this shows the law of segregation. So for example, say if a person is tall, if a person's father is tall and mother is of short height, then all the children, they can be either tall or can be of short height. It depends on whether which character is dominant in particular generation. Okay, if it is not the F1 generation, we do not know, then some of the children, they can be tall and some of them, they can be of short height, right? Now let us come to dihybrid cross. So in this case, 2 pairs of traits, they are being studied. So for this study, Mendel selected the plants which produced round and green seeds, and a plant which produced wrinkled yellow seeds. So round means here the texture of the seed, the texture is smooth, and wrinkled means the texture of the seed was rough. Here the color was green and the color of the seed was yellow. Okay, so the round character, it was dominant, so that is why it was represented by capital R's, and the wrinkle character was recessive, so represented by a small r. Yellow color was dominant and it was represented by capital Y, and green color was recessive, so it was represented by small y. So Mendel cross-pollinated these plants to see what happened. In the F1 generation, all the plants, they produced round and yellow seed, and the genotype was R, capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. Okay. Now these plants, they were allowed to self-pollinate among themselves to produce the F2 generation. So these are the gametes for F2 generation. So this is the pure round yellow, then round green, then wrinkle yellow, and wrinkle green, and same sequence is here. So in this case, all the quadrants, say they produce 16 plants, say 16 is 100%. So out of 16, 9 plants produced round and yellow seeds, 3 plants produced round and green seeds, 3 plants produced wrinkled yellow seeds, and 1 plant produced the wrinkled green seeds. The genetic makeup can be the capital R and capital Y for 1 out of 16, and rest of them, they cannot be pure round yellow. Okay, so based on this observation, Mendel came with his second law, that is called law of independent assortment, which says that alleles of different characters separate independent from each other. So now there are two characters, one is for the texture of seeds and another is for the color of seeds. So both of them, they are independent of each other to go into the next generation. So the green color, it can go along with the rough texture or along with the smooth texture. Similarly, yellow color, it can go along with the rough texture and a smooth texture. So they are not bound to get transmitted together from one generation to another. Okay, so a child can get the father's side and the hair color from his mother's side, or maybe the eye color from his father's side, or the type of lips from his mother's side. So that is how we end up seeing variations from one generation to next generation. Now, this topic is sex determination in human beings. India is a patriarchal society in which male child is given preference over the girl child, and there are many families where the woman of the household, she may have to suffer from so many ignominies for bearing the girl child. In many states, the female infanticide is prevalent, even female feticide is prevalent, and some of the so-called developed states which are economically developed, they have a very highly skewed gender ratio against women. And all of this happens because of misconceptions. So this topic, it will help in clearing some misconceptions. You may recall that human beings, they have 23 pairs of chromosomes in their somatic cells, that is the normal cells of the body. So what happens during gamete formation, each gamete, it gets 23 chromosomes. Okay, so out of these 23 pairs, the last pair, that is the 23rd pair, is called the pair of sex chromosomes. So in case of male, the 23rd pair contains X and Y chromosome, and the female contains XX chromosome. So the X chromosome is bigger in size and Y chromosome is smaller in size. So during gamete formation, both the X, they will be having X chromosome as the 23rd chromosome. But in case of sperm, one sperm will have X chromosome and another sperm will have Y chromosome. So what happens during fertilization? So this X chromosome, it will combine with this X, resulting in the XX genotype. This and this, both of them, they will combine to result in XX genotype. So the zygote with this genotype XX, it will result in development of a girl child. In this case, the Y chromosome is combining with X, so the genotype of zygote is XY. Here, this is the same thing, XY. A zygote with XY genotype will result in the birth of a male child. So you can see that there is 50% chance of the newborn baby being a girl or a boy. So is it simple as chance, as you have read in the chapter on probability in mathematics. So neither the father nor the mother is responsible for the gender of the child. So there is no point in blaming the mother for bearing a girl child. Okay. So I talked about heredity. I talked about Mendel's experiments on pea plants, especially the monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross, and the rules of inheritance which Mendel formulated based on his observation. Then at the end of the lesson, I talked about sex determination in human beings. Thank you.